Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 7. We call it the Mike Vick episode, all right? No dogs are involved, however, except for these two on your screen, all right? So, Ethan Larson here, rocking my Washington Capitals shirt. We're kind of in the mud right now, but it's okay. You know, got that one ring for Ovi, and now the franchise is done. Chad, why don't you holler at him a little bit?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that intro, but I loved it. When you say "we" with capitals, does that mean you're a fan? I don't think I've. This might be breaking news to me for someone who's known you for 25 years, so I might have to write this down.
Here's how my hockey fandom kind of worked, okay? So,
okay.
Ducks fan when you're a kid because obviously the Mighty Ducks. And
Simple enough.
Then I stopped playing hockey. The Caps started being good again, so hopped on the bandwagon and be like, hey, local team.
Nice.
Right? Local team. Then they win the Stanley Cup, and it's like, yeah, I'm definitely a Caps fan. Been a Caps fan my whole life. So,
fair enough.
It's like that goes as a select year-to-year LSU fan. Like this, you might be back in now. After
no shit.
South Carolina.
I wore my LSU shorts out the house today after the win today.
Bingo, exactly. So, you know, me and Chad, we're not afraid to show our either bandwagonism or favorite or whatever.
But we'll admit to it. So that's what matters.
I've been pretty proud of myself when people are like, "Hey, why do you like Texas football?" It's like, well, you know, the first game I ever watched was them win the freaking national championship, so you know, kind of was a fan ever since then.
Nice. Yeah, I'm still maintaining that I started liking LSU the year before they won the title in 07, I think it was.
One where they lost 3 games and somehow got in the national title game, that one. Yeah.
Hey, man, Bama's done it plenty of times as well. I don't want to hear it.
Very true. But they're not going to this year. So this week for the episode, we're recording this on Saturday night at 6:30, so Saturday the 14th. So obviously no football has happened this week. Outside
NFL.
NFL football has not happened yet outside of the Thursday game. All right. And we kind of wanted to take a look back at week 1, see some things that we liked or we didn't like, kind of some overreactions. We did this with the Premier League after week 1. What's up?
Before we start, I have a question that I was thinking about the other day. Because I was rewatching the TikTok of the top 10 assisters. By the way, if you're not following Ethan on TikTok, make sure you do. He posts clips from every episode, so good way to get some highlights from us if you don't feel like listening to the full hour 30. I know I get long-winded sometimes, so I understand. But is this the year of Jeff Teague? Like, so many people talk... The podcast,
top 10 assister of the 2010s.
Yeah, like I think just those two things. If you had to pick one, is it the year of Jeff Teague or Jason Kelce? I think those two might be in the finals for it.
So it has to be Jason Kelce because his is way more public because he's like literally on that damn Wawa commercial with his wife.
I mean, he's got
so much clout that he's got his wife involved in the media.
Yeah, he's got like pour over clout that he's just giving to other people. Now, when I saw that they have a cereal now, it's not a cereal, but it's like a cereal mix.
Do they actually?
Yeah, I just saw it today on Twitter. I think it's Lucky Charms, Reese's Puffs, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which I gotta say,
box?
Yeah, which I'm the fattest dude out there, and even I think that's probably the worst combination you could make for a cereal.
Lucky Charms and chocolate's already insane.
Yeah, no. And then you add Cinnamon Toast Crunch to it.
Oh, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, sorry.
Captain Crunch.
No, sorry. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lucky Charms, and then Reese's Puffs.
Jesus.
I hope I'm getting that right, but I knew it was a chocolate and then Lucky Charms. So like you said, chocolate and Lucky Charms, that's already breaking it.
Wow.
So.
Well, that might have to be one of my week 1 overreactions. Damn. So we're going to get into some NFL week 1 overreactions. Then we're going to do a little bit of Prem. By popular demand of Luke Perry at CNU Soccer, so shout out to you. If you're listening to this episode, you better be because I'm doing this for you. So we're going to talk a little North London Derby and then maybe one game that we either watch today or we're excited for tomorrow or the Monday night match. Let's just get it going with week 1 overreactions. I'm going to start this off because this is a little bit of a joke, but also
I'll take it.
Me being dead serious. Okay?
Okay.
Is this going to be the first year ever that college quarterbacks tank? They must watch the Panthers and be like, if I play too well, I'm gonna be that idiot throwing it to the wrong team and getting hit every other play and shit like that.
God, yeah. You know what's funny is
play good but not great.
You know, I'm pretty sure Caleb Williams was last year was kind of like the first dude to kind of toy with the idea. No, I'm serious. To kind of toy with the idea of like, you know, and I think it was his dad making the comments more than him. So let me be fair there, but you know, toying with the idea of
let's see if I can score my way out of the number 1 pick by just acting like.
No, but it was just like, hey, like let me, you know, it's not a guarantee I'm going to come out. It has to depend on the situation and all this other stuff. Granted, I think at the time the Giants were probably in the driver's seat for the 1 pick, so I can understand why he threw his body in front of that one. But yeah, Panthers can't say it's much better over there. It looks like a mess.
I was looking at a mock draft today of the 2025 draft. I was a little appalled that names like Cam Ward, Miller Moss, Carson Beck were in the top 10, and there was no Quinn Ewers or Shedeur Sanders. And as you listeners know, I'm the biggest Shedeur Sanders fan or hater there is. But
I was gonna say,
to have Miller Moss in front of him, who's thrown like 100 career passes that mean anything, like, come on, man. Even Carson Beck, like the quarterbacks that scare me most are the ones that are from truly blue blood programs. Because like no one was throwing the toys out to get AJ McCarron. Like no one was throwing the toys out.
No shit in my head. Like the visual I just thought of when you said that, I was like AJ McCarron. Like that's exactly who he's talking about.
Guys like Matt Flynn, guys like, you know,
watch it now.
I mean, shit. Even Tim Tebow to a certain extent. Like these guys that played for just really, really, really good college teams, and then came out. I mean, we just saw it with the last Georgia quarterback. Like no one was looking like, yo, I'm tell you what, if we get our hands on Stetson Bennett because he won 2 national championships, it's like. I mean, Carson Beck is a better quarterback, I think, than definitely Stetson Bennett. But it's like, let's just chill on the guys that have nothing but 5-star talent and first-round talent around them at all times.
A little bit. I mean, honestly, you could even say that really about any Alabama quarterback, but like Tua, you know, he ended up being a top 5 pick, and it was like, oh.
I mean, even Jalen Hurts, like, because when he left Alabama, it was because he wasn't a polished enough thrower. So then he had to go to a program like Oklahoma where he had to develop a little bit of his game, and Oklahoma has nowhere near the recruiting pool of Alabama.
To be 100% clear, Hurts is head and shoulders the best quarterback of any one of that group that we just discussed. Unless you like the fact that Matt Flynn was able to get paid even though somehow was never a starter.
Well, I heard Taylor Lewan on a podcast the other day talking about Zach Mettenberger coming into a game in relief
with the dip
with a big-ass chew in his mouth. So I think that might have been the highlight for LSU quarterbacks in the past, basically since the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, watch it, because Burrow did make a Super Bowl. I know that looks like ancient history now.
So I want to get your opinion. I forgot who said it. I didn't really see the name attached to it. I just watched the clip. They were talking about basically how it's time for Joe Burrow to get the criticism of some other quarterbacks.
It was your boy... God, what's his name? Jones. He played wide receiver. James Jones. Yep, I saw the clip. Saw it floating around. Yeah, corner 3 shooter for the Packers. And yeah, I saw that clip floating around. Look, every year under Zach Taylor, in this Taylor-Burrow combo, we've seen the Bengals start off very slow. I think they actually became the first 0-3 team to make the playoffs. I think it was the year they went to the Super Bowl. But, you know, 0-3, and then the other year they made the playoffs, they were 0-2. So this is not a new trend for them. I think it's kind of disturbing that they lose to that Patriots team, you know, a team that people were projecting like, you know, could be a
number 1 pick.
Right, exactly. And now Bill Simmons is asking, do they have some 2001 Patriots buzz on his last podcast? So,
yeah, you can
like that's
playing defense for him.
That's how he could probably get a starting spot on the team this year. But that's kind of how much the pendulum has shifted. And look, it kind of goes with the same thing. It's like the announcement we need to make before doing these overreactions, and kind of the thing we're playing into. It's a sample size of one game. There's been one
overreaction. Like we're saying, like I know we have this big of a sample size, but we're just going to overblow it.
And I think that's what James Jones is kind of doing. Although he's trying to actually be serious about it, which is kind of hilarious. I just straight up think when you watch Burrow play in big moments, he's I have as much confidence in him as any guy outside Mahomes in the NFL. So, like, I'm not going to sit here.
It kind of bleeds back into what we were talking about either last week or the week before, where it's like we expect there to be like 5 perfect quarterbacks in the NFL because that's what there were 10 years ago. It was like Breeze doesn't make mistakes, Brady doesn't make mistakes, Manning doesn't make mistakes, and then maybe one other guy. Rodgers doesn't make mistakes. So we're expecting like 4 or 5 guys to be in there that are like that. But right now it's like there's one. And so, like, no matter who you think your top 5 is, like, Josh Allen has throws where it's like, what the hell are you doing? Joe Burrow has games or weeks, a couple weeks in a row where it's like, this guy isn't that. Justin Herbert can't freaking buy his way into the playoffs. Like, there's little stuff about each of these quarterbacks that just screen. I mean, freaking Jalen Hurts, what was it, 7 of 8 games to end the regular season last year? I think 8 of 9 if you include the playoff game that they lost at the end of last year. Like, all these guys have some sort of something that just makes them not perfect, and maybe we were giving too much credit to those quarterbacks in the past. I actually had a discussion with your boy Trueblood the other day at CNU soccer practice, talking about, like, because of social media, everyone is so hyper criticized. Like, you look at the athletes 100%. Of the 90s, like, look at the greatest athlete from the 90s in each sport. Jordan had no haters in his day. Gretzky had no haters in his day. 90s, like Montana had no haters in his day. Like, all these guys that were the best at their sport were just like, yep, he's the greatest. Boom. And then even the other quarterbacks around him, Marino, like, never came close to winning a Super Bowl. It was like, shit, the dude Dan Marino is this and he's that.
Elway, I mean, they talk about him like he's a god, and it's like, dude, he won 2 Super Bowls when he was 36 and 37, I think. You know, when he wasn't even really the featured piece.
Brett Favre. And it's like, these dudes are great. And I just think that because our perception now is so, because there's 24/7 coverage of this stuff, that it's like, like if Brett Favre threw 2 picks on an East Coast game and you're living in Los Angeles, California, and he played against the Redskins, threw 2 picks and only threw 154 yards, you kind of just see it in your newspaper the next day, and they're like, all right, guess he didn't have a good game. Whereas now, it's like you're watching Red Zone, it's like, and you got Red Zone, you got Fantasy. It's like, damn, freaking Burrow just threw another pick. Oh my God, Josh Allen just fumbled again. Oh, this dude just did that. And I feel like we just need to chill on a lot of these guys, because I think Burrow's a really, really good quarterback. I think clearly a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on it and see if you were giving that any credence.
No, I'm not. But I mean, James Jones. I mean, look, when I'm picking Austin Rivers' side in a public battle between 2 people, and I don't even hate Austin Rivers, but it's just like I'm indifferent to him. So, like, if I'm actively picking his side, that's true. Probably more of a hater than I'm giving myself credit for. But if I'm picking his side, then I'm just clearly not in at all on the guy who's on the other side of that. So exactly. I look at James Jones in that clown category of people. So just one step above Antonio Brown on Twitter. So
well, he welcomed a new member to his newscasting agency. You didn't see that?
James Jones did, or AB?
Antonio Brown.
God, I didn't. I'm nervous.
He welcomed a new member to CTESPN on Thursday night.
Oh. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna leave that one. I'm gonna leave that one alone.
So I kind of gave my little bit of a joke, but a little bit legitimately. College quarterbacks maybe being like, oh, maybe I don't want to go to the Panthers. Maybe I could come back an extra year. Maybe I could do this or do that. But
I mean, it's not even not to cut you off, but it's not even just Carolina. You look at the handful of teams that look the worst in Week 1. Yeah. Carolina, Giants, Tennessee. I mean, you look at those.
That was the best picture of the season already.
Yeah.
Will Levis on his ass, just like this, as the dude takes the pick back.
Yeah, everyone. You talked about the 24/7 media cycle. Everyone knows when your memes to touchdown ratio is 1-to-1, and we're not talking good memes either. But the horrible memes is 1-to-1. Then we know that's not a good place to be in 2024.
Yeah. So what is your first Week 1 overreaction of this season?
This one's actually, I'm going to go with the first one that I believe. This is one that, I'm not going to say believe, but I can see some credence to it. See some credence to it. The transition process in LA has already happened. We talked about it with the Chargers a couple weeks ago. Can't remember if that was the QB stock game or the last episode, but we kind of talked about that transition they're going through, going from being a team that kind of put everything on the shoulders of Justin Herbert to now being more of a run-heavy team, play-action-based, going to be solid on both lines. You know, really the Harbaugh style, the style that I think he's carried from Stanford, you know, to the 49ers, to Michigan, and has been successful at all three places, you know. And I think he'll end up being successful in LA. Not saying it'll necessarily happen this year. Don't book your Super Bowl tickets yet, Chargers fans. But that process is looked much smoother in Week 1. Granted, they did play the Raiders, who have constantly, I mean, it seems like over the past half decade, have been a team that has not been able to get pressure on the quarterback in any consistent way outside of Max Crosby.
Ended Minshew's streak. I think he was 3-0
Yep.
on opening day.
Minshew on opening day is Mahomes in the Super Bowl, I'm guessing.
So
But yeah, there was a lot of interesting Week 1 stuff because the Saints are like the greatest team in NFL history in Week 1. Like I think they've won their opener the last 4 years by like a 2-touchdown
dude,
margin.
Derek Carr looked good, man.
He did. He
I was
did.
excited for him. You know, I mean, me and Chad have always been pretty
Yeah.
decent, like lukewarm on Derek Carr. It's like, you know what, this guy's good.
I just don't think he's the bottom 5 quarterback that Saints fans talk about him like he is.
No, God.
So, and not even close to it.
Well, I think
But-
Saints fans still got Stockholm syndrome from Jameis.
Okay.
Like they were like devastated when he left.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That was a huge miss for them. That was a huge miss. But heading back to LA for a second, the Chargers, man, their offensive line controlled the game. Only 4 pressures allowed. The rookie Joe Alt in his first career start at right tackle. I mean, Crosby lined up against him. I think it was 24 pass rush snaps. Couldn't have been 24 pass rush snaps. Herbert only threw it 26 times. But maybe 26 snaps or 24 snaps total lined up over him. Did not allow a single pressure in that game. Crosby was neutralized throughout. And as we know, Crosby, I mean, he's not like, you know, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, anything like that. But when you're talking about that second tier,
rookie.
yeah, that second tier of pass rushers, he's 100% in it. And as a team, you know, LA only allowed 4 pressures compared to 9 that they've allowed per game over the last 2 years when Herbert starts. So already starting to see those changes. And also I thought it was fascinating with Herbert throwing the ball not nearly downfield or down the field as much as he has in his past. Right, 7.1 yards per attempt for his career. That means he's getting the ball down the field. Usually about 7 is the average. He's actually been, you know, kind of below that the past 2 years. But he was down to 5.5 in Week 1. So I think that's Harbaugh just continuing to control the offense. So I'll be fascinated to see how that kind of continues to gel. They don't have anything for receivers. It's the funny part. I mean, Ladd McConkey, who was their leading receiver, had 5 catches for 39 yards and a score. But outside of that, I mean, no one's really scaring you. So it'll be fascinating.
Why I was low on them going into the season because, like, obviously Herbert, good quarterback, and then the receivers didn't seem dangerous, and then it was like. And then also they have the corpses of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in their backfield. And then it was like, well, J.K. Dobbins, dude was on my fantasy bench and put up like 28 points or something like that. I was like, Jesus.
13 yards a carry, like he looked.
Yeah, so
now, granted, he's been fresh because he really hasn't played in like 2 years. So
yeah, but I mean, I think it goes underrated, like the amount a offensive line can just carry a run game. Like, if you have that decent quarterback that they always have to worry about, hey, is this going to be play action? And then you have those guys able to, you know, just make some small holes and things like that. You're getting, even if you're just getting 5 yards of carry, like if you're getting 5 yards of carry and it's 3rd and 2, you have to work with 3rd and 2s instead of 3rd and 8s, things like that. It makes the game a lot easier to control. It allows Herbert to be more comfortable. And instead of, like you said, having to drive the ball down the field and having to throw all these post routes and corner routes and all these things, now we're just finding, you know, quick little quick little slant routes, something in the flat, something where we're just trying to move the chains rather than like, I have to make this big crazy play now because it's our 4th 3rd and 12 in a row and we're already down 10 points.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, running the ball, like you said, if you're getting 5 a clip, then that's insane. Chargers average 6.5 a carry. You know, second best of any team behind the Packers, who average 7.8 against the Eagles' defense that everyone raved about as being dominant. So
yeah, well,
we'll see.
They're really, really good. I know that kind of. You know, I'm just going to say this one now, okay? When I'm thinking about my overreaction.
The homer part is about to seep out of Ethan.
It is. It is.
I could see it coming.
I'm going to say it as... I'm going to relay this as a joke. Okay, but I'm gonna be
But you believe it.
correct. Okay, Lamar is just the Dak of the AFC. Like, I'm really waiting for the evidence.
Dude, I've been on it. I said the Ravens and the Cowboys were the exact same team.
I'm really waiting for the evidence because on that same post, I think what triggered is on that same post that I saw where people were talking about Burrow, where James Jones was talking about Burrow. Everyone in the comments was like, see, and they throw all this hate at Lamar and Jalen Hurts, and they're trying to make it a race thing, of course. And I was just kind of like, whatever. But then I really thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, shit. At least Jalen Hurts has played in a Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
at least Jalen Hurts is like Lamar has won 2 MVPs. That's what everyone brings up when someone tries to bash Lamar. It's like he's won 2 MVPs and he's done this. It's like, well, shit. I mean, I know he didn't win an MVP, but like Dak came in and took a Cowboys team that had won like 6 games the year before to like 12 wins and won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and has been and probably should have won the MVP last year. And has done nothing but consistently win 10 games.
Came in second.
Consistently win 10 games. Consistently at least challenge for the division, if not win it. And then win maybe a playoff game every other year, and then never really come close to winning anything else. And it's like, tell me the thing outside of that Lamar has done. Has he dragged some bad team further than they should have gone to playoffs? Has he gotten to a Super Bowl? I mean, even last year when they made the AFC Championship, he won 1 playoff game. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he went on some crazy run where he won 3 games, got to the Super Bowl, and then lost in some crazy fashion like even Joe Burrow did, going back to that point. It's just like Dak is always going to get that hate because he's the Cowboys quarterback, and he's always the first one to get a contract in like a contract cycle. So it's like, oh, look at him, he's getting $63 million a year. And it's like, oh yeah, I bet Lamar, he's probably making like 20 a year, isn't he? It's like, oh no, he's making basically the same thing. And
Yeah.
And it's always like, oh, we need to Lamar. And it's like, dude, like, is he a good player? Yes, of course he is. Of course he's a good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and be like, they need to trade him and he sucks and this, that, and the other. But it's like, tell me the thing that he's done that Dak, or some consistency he's shown that a guy like Dak hasn't shown.
Yeah. No, and that's a completely fair point, and that kind of was what my whole argument stemmed on when I was saying the Ravens and the Cowboys were kind of the same team, because obviously when you're looking at an NFL team, it's kind of like when you look at an NBA team, the identity of the team is, all right, who's the best player, what is their identity? In the NFL, it's who's your quarterback, what's their identity, and that's going to kind of determine how you feel about the team. And
do you know what Dak's playoff record is?
2-5, is it, I think?
Do you know what Lamar's is?
2-4. Yeah, only reason I know is because when I was going through this argument in my head and then spilled it out to you, I literally did all this exact same research.
2-5,
I'm right there.
2-4. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. I guess you can say Lamar played in that AFC Championship game. You're 100% right, but it's like,
Yeah, but first off, he sucked in the second half. I didn't put up a single
AFC
point in the second.
Championship.
Yeah, didn't put up a single point in the second half of that game. So, did he play in it? Yeah, he was on the field.
Well,
But
even like legitimate stinkers that you could give to Dak in his playoff career. It's like he was obviously not good against Green Bay. It ended up looking a lot better because they were playing from so far behind. Like his numbers actually look pretty decent, 403 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, but like you said, they were just in shotgun running 4 verts for the last 2 quarters of that game.
Correct. And then it's like at San Francisco the year before, and it's like, we were never going to win that game, and that team was so good that as much as I really like him as a quarterback, they were carrying a 7th round, like a Mr. Irrelevant, to the Super Bowl with their offensive and defensive weapons. Beat Tampa Bay. Again, lost to San Francisco the year before. It's like all these stat lines, they are pretty decent. And even, his first playoff game ever against Green Bay, this dude was 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and it took that crazy Mason Crosby field goal to win.
Yeah. The Rodgers 45-yard post route, or outside route,
to Howard, and it was just with a little toe tap on the sideline. And it's just like, I remember we went somewhere as a family. I think that was like one of our birthday dinners or something like that. And we were about to leave, and like that happened right before it, and it was like, all right, guys, let's go to Ethan's like 17th birthday dinner.
Oh man, bringing up bad memories.
So that's just my stance. It really didn't even have to do much with Week 1, but Week 1 when he missed Zay Flowers wide the hell open in the middle of the end zone, it was kind of just the epitome of it. It's like, see, if Dak would have missed that throw, it would have been all
Yeah.
over
Oh,
social
my
media
God.
for.
Stephen A's wearing the cowboy
It was a
hat.
Thursday night game, so until
Yeah.
the Sunday game started, everyone would be like, "Oh, see, you see when Dak missed that wide open guy
Yeah.
in the middle of the end zone." No one else has ever did that.
Yeah, that's the part that kills Dak, kind of like what you hit on is all of his, and you just went through it. Like, does he have any, yes, if you look at a quarterback, he's going to have some bad games, but does he have one that's absolutely just shit the bed, completely horrible? I would argue that Green Bay game was probably one of the worst games he's ever played. So, but the thing is, Dallas plays on prime time pretty much every other week.
So it's a loud bad game if he has.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
why don't you hit me with another one of your overreactions? Maybe one you either don't feel great about or one you just want to touch on a little bit.
Yeah, and this was the only other one I came up with. So after this, I'm giving you the ISO. I'm clearing out for you. But Sam Darnold has found a home in Minnesota.
This is what I was about to say. This is going to be like kind of one of my jokes where I was like, I mean, Sam Darnold. Sorry, just very quickly before you go.
Yeah, no, go
me
ahead.
and Chad have these conversations off. I mean, obviously we're brothers, so we talk all the time. But when Sam Darnold came out, I was one of those guys that was like, he is like the next guy. When I saw him playing at USC, he was so good in that Rose Bowl against Penn State when it was like freaking 43 to
48,
42,
45,
something crazy like that. I was like, I think they lost too. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I was
they
like, this
did.
dude Darnold is freaking unreal because he was only like a sophomore at that time.
Yep.
Max Brown was the number one quarterback in the entire country, and they benched him so that Sam Darnold could play. And it was just like, dude, this dude Sam Darnold's legit. He came out, he went to the Jets, and I was like, dude, this guy's got to be awesome. And then he wasn't. And it was just like, but then he'd have the game every once in a while. I was like, see, this dude can play a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just so happy that, Sam Darnold, because is he the same class as Allen?
He is. The word is tantalizing. He would have a
He's trick or treat.
tantalizing
He's
game.
Trick or
Yeah.
treat. He really is.
Exactly.
He's trick or treat. I mean, no one's more
Exactly.
trick or treat than like a Minshew. Like Minshew is literally like if you've never watched football before, you watch Minshew for like 2 weeks, you're like, this guy must have at least had an MVP and at least a Super Bowl, right? And then the next week it's like, how the hell is this guy in the NFL?
Yeah, you could make the argument. You're like, wait, is this guy one of the 5 highest paid guys at the position? And then the next week, like you said, you're like,
He's a practice squad guy.
Yeah, why did anybody sign this guy? So, but yeah, Minnesota, the new home for Darnold. I got to tell you, we talk about you and I kind of loving him. I feel like that's representative of how the entire NFL feels about him. Because
Everyone's giving him a chance, man.
every stop he goes to, people are like when he went to Carolina, people were like, oh man. I mean, I got his numbers right here. First 3 games in Carolina, and they started off 3-0 that year. So, everyone was riding high on that. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception for him. Rest of the season, 9 games, 8 total touchdowns, 13 picks. So it was
He played 10 games in San Francisco last year.
Well, he only started one of them. I mean, they were
Correct.
beating the hell out of teams. So he got some warm up snaps in, or some warm up the bus snaps. Yeah, exactly. But that's it. Even when he signed with San Francisco, people were like, "Huh, man, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I swear there were people before the season because this is, everyone wasn't still totally convinced on Purdy, and I think he could still make the.
Down his neck type of
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold maybe starts some games." It's like, what? What Darnold are you talking about? And I think that's still all the momentum from USC. Like this dude is still somehow living off momentum from that Rose Bowl.
Like
Still just
2017, wasn't it?
yeah, like he's still living off that momentum now. And I
He was
do, look,
fucking like Trace McSorley in that game. So.
I do think there are some traits of his that are good. He actually is way more athletic, and granted, any white guy is sneaky athletic, but he's sneakily more athletic than you would think. He does have a good arm, but we've seen this story before. His decision making is poor. His accuracy is poor, and when you don't have those 2 things, you can't be a consistent NFL quarterback. So I'm going to find it hard. Granted, he's going to have this whole season, pretty much as his runway. JJ McCarthy, yeah, he's out for the season, which I know Aaron is crushed about, since that's her new favorite quarterback. But
I know Joe Burrow ever since he dyed his hair, she's out.
Yeah, exactly. Which I saw Garnacho rocking that same hair color today that Burrow had.
That's
And
bad
I was
news
like,
for Burrow.
yeah, well, hey man, Garnacho scored with it. I don't know. But yeah,
Ridiculous.
so Sam Darnold in Minnesota, I think it's a huge overreaction because I really think the real underlying thing is the Giants are just horrible on both sides of the ball. I mean, we knew they were going to be terrible on offense, but defensively, to only get 4 pressures, 2 QB hits, and your third, fourth, and fifth highest paid guys are all in the entire team are all on your D line. Like that's just kind of unacceptable. So if the Giants' defensive line can't produce anything, that just makes him even more of a joke. So if Darnold plays them every week, he'll be good. But I'm not buying it.
Well, I think that Kayvon Thibodeau, I think he officially sold his soul when he was doing the Snow Angels next to who was it, Nick Foles' corpse?
Oh yeah.
No, was it Matt Ryan who was?
No, I think it was Foles. He was doing because it was on the Colts.
Yeah, next to Nick Foles' corpse. I was like, I think that was when he officially sold his soul. Wasn't going to be able to make a play again.
Yeah, that was tough.
So just very quickly, I wanted to get into one thing where I was like, obviously the Thursday night game may have contributed to a little bit, so not exactly week 1 overreactions, but just like I was wrong on the Bills. Just because I was like really thinking like, they don't have that many weapons, they don't have that many whatever. But then I kind of came to the realization where it's like, when the Patriots would lose like 100 players every single offseason, then you're just like, well, they're still going to be good next year. It's like, why? It's like, well, because they have Brady. I'm by no means saying that Josh Allen is Brady. I mean, Brady obviously is who he is, greatest player of all time. But it's like, there's some guys that are just that good. They're just like, I don't know, they're just going to win 11 games. It's like, why?
Yeah.
It's like, well, because they have Josh Allen on their team.
Exactly. That was one of the few teams we kind of disagreed on before the season. And I'm not, by no means am I sitting here doing the victory lap after 2 weeks, but I mean, it has been a good start. They've put up 30 plus in both games. Granted, both quarterbacks they've gone against have helped them significantly with that. Although, Skylar Thompson, can't forget his snaps. But yeah, they've looked. First off, James Cook, I think, has just been a better back than any of us have kind of projected or thought he was going to be.
He ran for like a couple hundred yards last year. Like, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was more of a rotation piece for them last season, and now all of a sudden. But the thing we have to remember is the NFL is a young man's game for the most part, right? Like, you just talked about it when people are kind of cycling through. They're losing, doing the season preview. It's like, all right, what guys did they lose? Man, they lost 4 or 5 starters off this team. They got signed up by other teams because they were just too good and they didn't have cap space. But it's like, guess what? When you have a good team and you have a good development program, you're going to be able to put in 3 or 4 new guys that are not necessarily going to be the same level as the guys that you lost, but you're expecting your other guys who are average starters to maybe take that step up. And then that allows the new guys to just be average in their roles. And I think that's kind of what you've seen from Buffalo through 2 weeks. And Allen has been efficient. I mean, he didn't need to do much in the game on Thursday, 13-19 for 139 and a score, but had that banged up hand from the week 1. But you saw in week 1 when he had to turn it on and score 4 touchdowns. Then he did that. So I'm with you.
I was just very impressed by him, and because obviously Mahomes, like anything. I mean, the Chiefs lose 1,000 guys a year, and it just seems that they're just like, yeah, well, I don't know, we have Mahomes, so we're gonna win. And again, I don't think Allen is like the best quarterback in the world, but I think he's probably a top 3 quarterback in the league. And it's just like, I don't know, we're gonna win games because we have this guy. I don't really know. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, we're gonna find ourselves in games where it's like, how are we up 31-28 right now? Oh, because we have Josh Allen. All we need to do is make sure this team doesn't score a touchdown in the next 30 seconds, and we'll be fine.
Yeah. Or kick a field goal in the next 13.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, yeah, so that kind of made me laugh. Very quickly, I want to get your opinion, not on the Tua situation, because I'm not going to put you on the clock like that, but on the spot like that. But if you are the Dolphins right now, and you kind of have to prepare – at least, probably at this point of how many he's had, at least a month, even if you're being super optimistic, like a month without Tua. Like, what are you thinking? I saw some saw some Ryan Tannehill as a free agent buzz on Twitter a little bit. Like, are you thinking like let's just give those snaps to Skylar Thompson, or are you thinking let's go get a guy that can actually be at least a decent bridge quarterback?
Well, the thing that's tough is when you talk about Ryan Tannehill, because apparently he was close to joining Green Bay at one point. I believe him and LaFleur, the Green Bay coach, have the same agent, so they were trying to get that kind of link up to happen. But the thing is, Tannehill apparently like wants money and like a real opportunity. No, seriously, they were saying.
I know you're being serious. That's why it's funny.
He wants like some money, and he wants an opportunity to not just be like, like you said, a placeholder guy for a month or something like that. He wants to be like, hey, am I going to actually have a chance to be the starter for the rest of the season? Which, I mean, that's just not going to happen if Tua does come back. Which I do. I know you said you didn't want to ask me about it because you don't want to put me on the spot, but
I just didn't want to, impose.
I'm not. I don't have an opinion one way or the other on what I would say, what I would advise him to do, because I'm not a doctor and I don't know the medical history, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But here's the thing that we know about professional athletes. 99.999% of them love playing the sport that they participate in. Like, that's the reason they get to the NFL. That's why they get to the hardest league, the highest level, all that stuff, because the drive, the commitment, the love for the game that they have. So, when you see all these players and people talking about, oh, Tua needs to retire, it's like, dude, like, imagine, because I saw Tony Gonzalez saying it, like, imagine telling Tony Gonzalez right in the 4th or 5th year of his career, hey, man, you got to retire.
Ever again.
Yeah, like, no kidding, he's not going to, like, that's not something he's going to want to accept. So he's going to try every situation possible, try and get a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion, fifth opinion, if he needs to hear the thing that he wants to hear. So,
I mean, especially, like, a guy that's successful like Tua. Like, think of the guys that really haven't even found success. Like, if you've ever watched, like, Last Chance U, like, these are guys that didn't get D1 offers out of high school, barely getting looks in JUCO, and they're still like they're 20 years old, living and playing at a JUCO, can barely get reps, and even they're still like, dude, I love football more than anything else in this world. And even though I've really had no record of success at any type of high level, I still like just can't wait to get on the field. I can't wait to have my opportunity. I can't wait to play D1. And it's like, imagine a guy that's already accomplished all that, and then already loved it more than most people because he's put in that much work to be this good.
Yeah,
it's not like, from an outsider's perspective, and especially from like a person that didn't grow up really heavy into a sport, like, it's easy to be like, well, shoot, look at all the money he's made, you can just retire. But it's like you said, it's so much more than just like, oh, it's my job and I get to retire at 26 years old or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, look, you pull the average guy off the street and say, hey, you can retire at 26 with 100 plus million in the bank, and they'd be like, all right, where do I sign up? But to answer your question kind of about the quarterback thing, I think it'll be difficult. I kind of pulled up a list of names of guys who are available.
I did too.
You've got Tannehill, and then here are the next highlight guys.
I think we're on the same screen right now.
Nate Sudfeld, C.J. Beathard, Trevor Siemian, Blaine Gabbert, P.J. Walker, John Wolford, who, I'll tell you this, if McVay was the coach, he'd definitely sign Wolford in a heartbeat. And then Brian Hoyer. Yeah. So, to be honest, I hate Skylar Thompson. I don't think any Dolphins fan is in love with him. He ended up getting benched as a starter at K-State. That's a complete side note, but he was somehow got benched.
The situation is that on this same website, just under those names listed,
I didn't even want to keep scrolling.
The free agent pool is so shallow.
Oh yeah.
It says, could Brady be coaxed out of retirement? And I'll tell you what, if there's maybe one of like 2 or 3 places in the NFL where he could get coaxed out of retirement into playing, Miami would probably be one of them. Miami would be one of them, and San Francisco would probably be the other one. I mean, I was even looking at other teams, and I was like looking at like the Denver Broncos roster. Like, they have Bo Nix, Stidham, and Zach Wilson on their team right now. All three. Yeah. I mean, no NFL team has ever said this, but Jarrett Stidham himself said that he's an NFL starting quarterback, so that's good to hear. And then Zach Wilson actually was, again, I know he's like the joke of the league. He's the, laughing stock of the league. But he actually has been an NFL starting quarterback for multiple years.
And he's better than Skylar Thompson. Like, I hate to break it to you. He's better than Skylar Thompson.
The worst consistent starting quarterback is better than Skylar Thompson. I mean, even if you look here, and I can't believe I'm about to do this, like roll out the Zach Wilson resume, but it's like 57% completion, about equal touchdown to interception ratio, 23 to 24, 6,200 passing yards, 73.2 passer rating. Like, that's not awful. His last year in wrong team. His last year, he threw 8 touchdowns and 7 picks, which isn't obviously amazing, but it's like if you only need that for a month, then it's
exactly.
Then you can at least you could definitely scheme it up way more than if you're like, hey, this is our starter.
And I'll tell you the thing that's underrated for whatever reason in the NFL, especially. And I think it's because so much of it is tape dependent on how you can scheme against guys. Like, you'll see so many guys come in and become the starter and, like, will have 2 really good games.
Baker.
Baker with the Rams. I think that one, he was just probably even a little bit better than what he was getting credit for at the time. But just, like, so many guys. I mean, who was the dude we had starting a couple years ago when Dak got hurt? He ended up... Yeah, Cooper Rush. I mean, Mike White, when he lit it up for the Jets for a couple of games.
Flacco did it for 5 straight weeks last year.
So there are guys, like, there's actual evidence of, hey, you can just kind of pick up a guy.
For a month.
Yeah, you can get a guy, and it's like, if there's not enough tape on him, like, that's why, weirdly, I might even go with Skylar Thompson over, like, a Wilson or something. Like, Zach Wilson, you know how to beat him. Yeah, you know how to beat Zach Wilson. You know how to exploit him. And look, you don't have to scheme against Skylar Thompson. You're just going to beat him. But at least, like, I would rather see that than kind of, like you said, see one of these desperation projects, especially if it means, God forbid, trading away a semi-asset.
Yeah. I mean, and I thought it was interesting, too, like, what do you think has to happen for them to roll back the clock 15 years to when they had that Wildcat year with Chad Pennington as quarterback, and they just sucked, and so they had what's his face,
Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams, or no, Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. I think it was,
freaking taking snaps.
I tell you, I mean, they've got Mostert and A-Chain, so they've got 2 running backs. Now the thing is, neither one of them is going to be healthy for more than 3 games, so that's a problem.
Literally,
but hell, what's the point? They'll just get to the point where they'll put Tyreek as the Wildcat quarterback.
Literally the most screwed up headline I've ever seen in my entire life. I saw it today. It said, what does the Tua injury mean for Devin Achane fantasy owners?
Hey, man, I got to say, I was going against him this week, and somehow this dude put up a 30-piece, even though the team only scored 10 points.
Well, I'm playing against James Cook, so.
Good
my
luck.
coach's league, so.
Good luck.
Was there anything specific or particular you wanted to throw out there before we move on from NFL? Any team, any player, anything you're excited for this upcoming week?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll tell you, I think the using the old Bill Simmons line of the loser leaves town game, I think Jaguars Browns this week in Jacksonville could be the ultimate loser leaves town kind of for the season for both teams. The loser obviously will go to 0-2. Deshaun Watson needs to have a good game. I mean, people... I gotta say, the people... Like, I just feel... No one will ever convince me otherwise that... I just feel like people are piling on Deshaun Watson because of all the off-the-field stuff.
No doubt about it.
And people are like, oh, could he get benched for week 2? Or could he get benched in the next couple weeks? It's like, well, guess what? They would still own like $150 million, and they invested 3 first-round picks in the guy. So there's probably about a 1% chance he's going to get benched in the next month.
That Jameis buzz. I'm telling you, the Jameis buzz is real.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's one that I'm looking forward to, actually. And then also I want to see Kirk Cousins in Atlanta week 2, because I think we talked about this, but like everyone only looked at Cousins when he signed with Atlanta as the good parts of Cousins. People, forgetting the fact that he's a guaranteed 9-8, which means 8 of those games are going to be losses, and he's going to probably look like shit in 6 of them. So, like, look, he's obviously
the games they win.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't look healthy, which was the thing that stuck out most to me. But I thought they played a good defense in the Steelers. So like, can he bounce back this week? I actually don't know. Let me do some on the fly research to see who they have. Probably should have been a little bit more prepared, but that's right. They play Philly on Monday Night Football. So we talked about the Philly defense maybe being a bit overrated compared to what people were saying from Week 1. I think Atlanta will be able to find more balance, especially with the run game, and maybe make it more comfortable for Cousins. So, but if not, it'll be Penix Central.
It'll never be Penix Central, ever.
No, it won't be for me. But I'm just saying that the Twitter fan base will be erupting by halftime of the second game.
So, how many quarterbacks this year have to get injured before my boy Rosen gets his redemption tour in the NFL?
Fuck, 50?
Here's I think Josh Rosen is kind of more of a life lesson for a lot of young athletes where it's like, because of what we just said about guys like Darnold, guys like Zach Wilson, it's like they suck just like how Josh Rosen sucked, but people just like him. So like, you know what, let's hand him $1 million a year deal. And let's just have this guy around. It's like Josh Rosen, screw that guy. Kick him out of the freaking NFL.
And Zach Wilson, people didn't even like. They just liked him enough. Yeah. It's
like, don't even be likable. Just be a guy that people don't hate.
This past year felt like the 2000 or this past season when he was filling in for Rodgers when he was hurt felt like the Kobe 2012 media tour of like, I'm gonna redeem myself. I'm gonna say all the right things so that way, obviously Kobe was doing it for a different reason, but Wilson was like, shit, I need to be someone's third QB next year, so I need to prove that I'm a decent locker room guy. So I thought that was hilarious.
With the same career trajectory, that's awesome.
Trey area.
Going on now to a little bit of Premier League. I definitely want to talk North London Derby, obviously, as an Arsenal fan. And then we're going to talk briefly about maybe some other topics, stuff that happened today or going to happen this weekend. So North London Derby. This is probably the worst I felt about one in a couple of years.
No shit.
Well, yeah, our notable absences.
Yeah.
So Rice, for reasons that still remain unclear, is suspended. Odegaard returned from international break with an ankle knock. Mikel Merino still out. Tomiyasu still out. Gabriel Jesus and Ricardo Calafiori both questionable going in. Whereas Tottenham, it looked like Solanke and Van de Ven are both going to play.
Yeah.
But Richarlison and Basuma, I don't know what they're going to do without those two not playing. So
they'll be good on laughing gas. That's for sure.
Going into this game, Arsenal obviously this year have 2 wins and a draw. That draw against Brighton last week, and then Spurs have 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss, and that 1 win was against Everton, which basically doesn't count.
Yeah. So my Everton takes are just getting worse. Just keep looking worse and worse.
So what I think is going to happen is, to me, this just screams North London Derby draw. Like, we're playing at Spurs. We have a weakened team. I mean, it's going to end up being like Raya and then Saliba and Gabriel with like White and Timber. So the back line is going to be pretty.
The back four, yeah, I was going to say that back four would be probably your ideal back four for the most part.
The midfield is going to be like.
Yeah, that's the real question.
Jorginho.
Can we get an Ethan Nwaneri debut?
I would prefer that, but I don't think it will happen. I think it's going to be like Kai Havertz in the midfield or something like that, and then like.
I thought we already saw that experiment.
Yeah, but I don't know if Mikel like really believes it. I think he thinks it was like AI footage. And then it's going to be like Trossard false 9 with like Saka and Martinelli.
Sterling. You're talking about
people calling for Sterling, and I just roll my eyes every time I see that. It's like, let's at least let the guy have a couple sub appearances before we start.
Yeah, let him do something good before we start arguing for him to start.
Let's hit him with the Dennis Green. All right, if you want to crown him, then crown their ass.
Crown his ass.
All right? But like, I'm not hopping on the hype train just yet. I've at least convinced myself that he's not a horrible loan signing. But I'm definitely not going to sit here and be like, shit, if we get Sterling on the pitch, then something's going to happen. Like, even if he comes on,
baby steps for you. Baby steps.
If we're down 1-0 and I see him, coming on the pitch, I'm not going to like roll my eyes. I'm going to be like, well, shoot, he could at least dribble past one guy and then miss the target, and that'll at least be fun.
Yeah, we talked about this last year with the Havertz signing, and it was a great point that you brought up that I never really had thought about, but makes so much sense. Is guess what? When your team signs a guy, there's no point in hating him at that point.
No.
Like when they first sign him, there's no reason to hate him anymore. You just kind of got to buy in for at least 2 months until he gives you a reason to absolutely hate him again.
Like even like Spurs fans, like when they signed Werner last year, like it was like everyone kind of looked at him and was like, you know what, not a bad signing for a team like Spurs. Even though he became universally like, if
Hated
Kai
at
Havertz
Chelsea.
wasn't the worst attacker in the league, then Werner was the worst attacker in the league, and then he got signed. It's kind of like, you know what, sure, why not?
100%.
I mean,
100%.
that's kind of the magic of the transfer window. I think it's specific to soccer. Is like when you get a guy, you're just all in. My experience, when I'm talking to people, it's like, oh, Mikel Merino. It's like, if you'd asked me 2 months ago, just like, hey, do you like Mikel Merino? I'd be like, no, I think he's probably not very good. He's probably a decent midfielder. But then we signed him. It's like, dude's probably going to be great. Dude's probably going to freaking be team of the season at the end of the year.
Well, it's the Calafiori thing all over again, where like going into the summer, I guarantee you there was not one Arsenal fan who was like, yo, you know who we need to sign is Calafiori. And then all of a sudden you get linked to him and it's like, this dude's going to be the signing of the summer. He's going to take us to the next level.
Well, I saw a great Mikel interview after the signing, and he was kind of, because everyone was
lied his ass off.
Oh, he got signed off of 4 games at the Euros and this, that, and the other. No one knew his name, whatever. And then Mikel goes, this is somebody that we've been tracking for about 18 months now, and blah, blah, blah. I was like,
you have a little Middle Eastern to your Arteta.
that's kind of how Mikel kind of does it. He kind of talks like this. And that's more Pep. That's more Pep.
Yeah. That's because Pep's hanging out with the Saudi guys all the time.
Pep,
that's what
they freaking pissed me off today too, man. Did you watch that Brentford game?
I didn't.
Like 20 seconds in, Brentford to go up 1-0.
Yeah,
I was like, that's literally the worst possible thing that could have happened in this game.
Yeah, because now you woke up the beast.
The bear. I mean, they legitimately had all 10 of their players in like a 10-yard space. Brentford did. And I was like, this is not going to go well. Like right after the goal was scored, they kicked off and like the ball went to the other end, and Brentford just set up in this like 10, like from the deepest center back to the highest forward, it was about 10 yards, and I was like, this is not going to be good. And they scored like a weird deflected goal, Haaland did, and then Haaland did a really, really good, like ball came over the top, gave it a little nudge to Ethan Pinnock, and he just ran through and chipped the goalkeeper, and it was 2-1, and I was like, not watching this game anymore.
Yeah, well, it was over at that point.
Switched over to the Leicester game, which was honestly pretty fun.
Yeah, but let's get back to this Arsenal Spurs game because I don't want to get off track. So what you said, this is the worst that you're feeling going into one in a little bit. Is it all because of that kind of injury crisis that you hit on, or is there stuff about Spurs specifically that kind of gives you worries as well?
Not really. Because I think things are going to change. Well, one, players are there that I obviously would like there. I mean, Rice and Odegaard are 2 of our 3 midfielders and probably 2 of our 4 or 5 best players. So that's obviously a miss. But also, if Kai Havertz has to change position, like I would just love him against that high line. Obviously, I'm not sitting here, oh, well, Van de Ven's so fast. I know he is, but he can also, his speed can cause him to be rash in his decision-making and in his challenges and stuff like that. And I think a guy like Kai Havertz could be someone that could exploit spaces that he leaves or spaces that whoever his center back partner, or Christian
Romero, who's even more rash than Van de Ven.
Romero is like, okay, so if Kai Havertz is on Van de Ven, he's just technical enough to, kind of just get away from him and maybe make something happen there. And with Romero, it's like, I mean, shoot, if he checks in, this dude Romero is just going to go all the way up his ass, and then he's able to spin into some space, stuff like that. So, I mean, what is it with Christian Romero? I need some something.
I tell you, it's weird because I do think he's good. Like, he's good, but at the same time, he's not like, I mean, anytime I'll tell you exactly what it is. As soon as anyone wins a World Cup, you automatically go up 10 levels. Because, I mean, every time I've heard frickin' Ange talk about him, he's like, he's a World Cup winner. Like, I remember Ange had a statement last year that was almost like Steve's favorite interaction with Alex Harvin, where they was like, yeah, we're just not playing to the level that Romero wants. He's a World Cup winner. We got to follow him as a leader. And it's like, dude, he's not even a top 5 player at his position, like in the league.
On his team.
Yeah, like he's not a top 5 guy at his position in the league. Like, why are you sitting here acting like, So I don't know. I do like him, but yeah, like we said, that World Cup bump that he's gotten, he's living off that one.
Because I feel like Gabriel's starting to get a little bit more love this year, but last year when they were doing Northland and Darby combined 11, it's Saliba and Romero. It's like, what the hell is Romero? Nah. Romero, again, of course, he's part of a World Cup winning team, but if you were trying to make a combined 11 of Arsenal and Benfica last year, I don't think you'd put Otamendi in there next to. Okay. So it's just.
I don't know. It depends. If Scaloni's the manager, then he might have.
It's just, even like Rodrigo De Paul. If you're listening to this, tell me the last time you saw Rodrigo De Paul play, because I guarantee you it was either for Argentina in the Copa America or in that World Cup. I guarantee you it wasn't. Because he's not ripping up any trees for Atleti. I mean, Chad watches way more La Liga than I do, and I guarantee you no one is, even when you're watching other games, like if you're watching a Real Madrid game, like no one's like, well, yeah, Rodrigo De Paul has been amazing this year alongside this guy and that guy. It's like, no one's saying that because Rodrigo De Paul is just not that great of a player. He played his role well for what Argentina needed him to be, and then he won the tournament. So he's going to get probably more credit if you brought his name up, but I don't know.
There's a reason they signed Gallagher to play the exact role that DePaul has been trying to play for the last 3 seasons. So
Exactly. I also... So Everton, you kind of brought them up earlier. I kind of brought them up, too, as a joke, saying that one Spurs win was a 4-0. Everton, again...
Hold on. Before we go, I want you to officially put your neck out there. Give me a prediction, like a full prediction.
I say 2-2. I think that we'll go down 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then we score 2 in a row, and everyone's giving it the
and then Spurs score the equalizer. And then
Spurs scores not a late goal, but like a 70th minute where it's like we kind of thought we could start sitting in a little bit and wrapping the game up, and then they score. Like Heung-min Son just does not shit against any other club in the Prem, and then just turns up and becomes the best player in the world again, like he always does against Arsenal, and he just does something where it's like, God damn it. And then they're the ones that are pushing more at the end, and then we're just kind of like, all right, we'll get out of here with the point, then just move on. The good news is we don't have any big games coming up just after this Spurs game, so we can kind of put all our eggs in that basket.
Who do you guys play in the Champions League this week?
Atlanta away, and then we have City at home next weekend. So. Oh,
okay, yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be a couple easy points for you guys. I'm actually more bullish than you. Maybe it's just because I'm looking at it. I'm not having the fan worries where you're only really focused on the negative stuff. Like you're only focused on the Havertz or on the Rice suspension and the Odegaard injury. I still think Arsenal have too much, and I think defensively Arsenal will still be sound enough. We kind of hit on it. The back four, the preferred back four, is still going to be there. And Partey, who I think has done a good job in the first handful of games in that screening type of role, I think that'll continue for him. So I'm actually going to go with like a 2-0 Arsenal win. I just think Spurs they play exciting, maybe 2-1. I mean, just because they do play exciting and super attacking, but it just leaves them too wide open. And they still haven't been able to figure out their set-piece problems from last season. And as we know, that's like one of the things that Arsenal is like one of the best at in the league. So.
And by the way, Dominic Szoboszlai literally smashed the ball away about 5 seconds after the whistle went today while he was on a booking. But, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
I'll tell you this: Bruno got a card for it today, and Maguire, 5 seconds after coming on, which was the most hilarious yellow of all time.
So, if you've ever played soccer before, like at any type of level where like yellow cards are like somewhat normal, like high school soccer, club soccer, college soccer, that kind of thing. I didn't know that this applied to Premier League officials too, where they like literally do everything in their power not to send someone off. Because that's what was happening today. Because I saw that in the Man United game, like it was just guys that were just on yellow cards, making tackles and stuff like that, and it was just like
Mainu committed at least 4 fouls while on a yellow.
Yeah, and it was like, no, let's keep the kid on. I don't feel like sending him off. I don't feel like having Twitter curse my name all day.
I feel like Casemiro's had too many conversations with him, being like, yeah, dude, if you're on a yellow, you can still keep making tackles. And he's saying it because that's what he did in Madrid, and also if Mainu gets suspended, he's like, guess I got to get back in the starting 11.
With the
Can we talk about that game for a second, actually? Because I know just because we were texting about it, so I know we both watched. I gotta say, never, like, if you're one of the old school, like, OG Prem, Gary Neville is my hero type of United fans, you're sitting there saying, all right, we played against Southampton away, and we played on the counter against them. Those type of people would kill themselves. But at the same time, you look at it, it's like the way United are built, I just feel like that makes sense for them. I feel like that makes more sense for United to be able to play on the counter. They did actually start Eriksen in midfield, which kind of gave them more ball control. But they were still in a deeper position, so therefore it was like no reason. They didn't need that defensive screener, that Ugarte or Casemiro type in there because they were so compact defensively. And I thought in transition and on the counter, they just looked amazing. Like, they really looked amazing on the counter. I thought Rashford looked good. I even thought Ahmad, God, I mean, he's suffering from the Anthony-itis, where he literally only will kick the ball with his left foot. But if he ever learned to use his right, God help him. God help the league, because I thought they looked good on the counter. What about you?
Yeah, so here's the thing about United is, because obviously I've been painted as a United hater by your boy Don Watts all the time, but it's just like, I need to know how I'm supposed to judge them. Because coming into this season, I've been told by United fans, by these Premier League people, by whoever, oh, they're definitely going to make top four. And I'm not even coming at you personally, but it's like, oh, they're definitely going to make top four. They're definitely this now. They're back now, like in the way, like you said, they were like 20 years ago. But it's like they're a legitimately good team now. And if you want me to view them as such, then I would be like, okay, they not struggled, but they definitely didn't have an easy time of it against a horrible Southampton team who should have went up 1-0.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, having to play on the counterattack. And again, in a vacuum, I don't mind that. I don't mind that for a team because they did it obviously productively and won 3-0. But if you're a team that wants to consistently win week in, week out, I don't think that this is the formula to be like, hey, we're going to finish in the top four because look what we were able to do on the counter against Southampton away.
The counter that I'm going to make to that take is I think that's how they were able to get third, in Ten Hag's first or fourth in Ten Hag's first season. A lot of what they were doing was defensive, having a lot of clean sheets, having a lot of low XG allowed games. I mean, I think De Gea even won the Golden Gloves in that one season. He was the starter there.
He got released.
So, yeah, which has got to be a first. I think Ten Hag feels like that's actually the formula for them right now, because I think we've seen in spurts he's tried to implement more possession style, but it just it's just really hard. Like, it's hard to be, I think, have the expectations that they have, and the second it goes wrong trying to implement a new style, it's like, all right, coach's head is on the chopping block. So I think he's going back to something that's familiar, and I think their counter is more dynamic now than it was 2 years ago when they first kind of implemented that style. So to say it's not consistent,
Me and you are in the same boat where it's like we think an underrated part of especially the Premier League, but really football overall, is that athleticism and having it all over the pitch. And it's like, 100%. Well, now they have Ugarte, who's a decent athlete, at least can cover ground. Mainu is at least a decent athlete, okay? And Bruno, the way he plays doesn't really require athleticism. So,
but he still brings energy, will run around and all that stuff.
But then you look at their front line, and it's like Garnacho's athletic, Ahmad's athletic, both of their center forwards are athletic. Obviously, Rashford's athletic, and it's like, well, shit. If you have numbers forward, you kind of have to keep an eye out, looking over your shoulder, being like, if we lose this ball right here, it's Marcus Rashford into 70 yards of space, and we're not going to catch him. And even though I don't think he obviously scored today. He scored today, but I still think it's going to take him some time to get back, if he ever does, to that form that we saw maybe 2-3 years ago. But he's still a worry. Even if we see he's way better than this player, but even we see with Adama Traore, like, people are always kind of looking over their shoulder, being like, "Oh, shit,
exactly.
If Adama gets away, like, we're kind of screwed here. And Adama's nowhere near the player that Marcus Rashford is. So just having that athleticism is just you always have to check your shoulder and maybe not send an extra player forward. And maybe that could be a part of their plan, being like, we're just going to put so much athleticism in our front line that people are like, you know what, we're only going to send 6 forward rather than sending 7 or 8.
Yeah, and Bruno is a master at whatever ball needs to be played to send a guy through in space. Like he's very, very good at kind of all of those passes.
Getting the ball like from like the right winger checking down and just like getting a first time ball to the like cross field into the space of the left winger. That's just like how the hell did he see that and play it with that quality?
Yeah, he has all of those. So I think, and I gotta say, I've like not to be too positive about United, but I've actually enjoyed Xerxes a bit more than I was expecting to. Now I know he actually had 2 chances to score today and missed both of them, but kind of, I think he allows them to play the way we're talking about as well. With those wingers more so are the ones making the runs in behind because he's been dropping off. I saw him and Bruno combining a couple of times to then, like you said, then Bruno will play the ball into space once Xerxes has maybe taken a center back away from the back line or made him step up. So I think he fits in well. I'm still excited to see what Højlund will bring to the team in his second season because, you hit on it when we did our Liverpool United combined 11. Like, Højlund had a much better first season than I think most people were expecting, and I think people would probably, like the average person would even say he had.
And like a really good end to it, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that second half, if you're just talking about like who was better than him in the second half, like you could probably count on one hand the amount of Premier League strikers that were just straight up clearly better than him in the second half.
Because it took him like I think a month and a half before he scored his first Premier League goal.
December.
In the Prem.
Correct.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it was weird. He had he was like Champions League top scorer. Yeah, scored 2 against Bayern in the first Champions League game, but couldn't score against Fulham or something.
I want to say he scored against he scored on like Boxing Day or something like that, and that was his first on like the day after Christmas, and that was like his first Man United league goal or something like that. Like it was something crazy where on Boxing Day, at Villa at home. Yeah, I remember.
And then he ended up with like you said, I think 9 I think he ended up with 9 in the league. So not saying that
it was like 12.
10. Yeah, maybe in all competition. I think it was like 15 in all competitions,
10 in the league,
but
16 in all comps.
Yeah, which
again for a 20-year-old striker, that's not bad at all.
No, not at all, not at all.
And for it was. It also would just be a bitch to play against. Like Xerxes and Rasmus Højlund. What's cool about having both of them when they do have both of them back is just like. All right, so I just had to chase Xerxes around, and he was doing all this build-up, little stuff, and I kept losing him and having to pass him on to midfielders, doing all this other shit. And now Rasmus Højlund is just going to hit me, and he's going to chase me down, and he's always going to be where I don't want him to be. And for the last 30 minutes, and now they're bringing on Garnacho off the bench, at times, and I guess Antony off the bench.
We don't need to focus on that.
That's what I mean. But it's like they're bringing Garnacho off the bench, and it's like, Jesus, man. Or maybe even Ahmad, bringing Ahmad off the bench. It's like, damn, now we got to chase Ahmad, worry about where Højlund is. Like and it's just going to be freaking annoying to play against when they have both of those guys back firing at the same time.
Yeah, that's why. One of our big disagreements was the United attack. I just feel like depending on the week, kind of like we've talked about, depending on the week and the matchup, like it can be a bitch to play against, or maybe sometimes they just don't have enough creativity. So that'll be fascinating to see it seesaw.
I could see them doing well against the big 3 this year, like the Liverpool, United,
because of the way they want to play.
City, Arsenal, because I guess Kyle Walker is just unassailable. But, if there's anyone that could give them a foot race in the Premier League, it's going to be Marcus Rashford. And so it's like when they're got their guys high and they lose a ball in a bad area and they look up in their 3v2 and they're against, Højlund, Ahmad, and Rashford, it's going to be like, oh, shit,
like, exactly.
Like there's going to be the time, kind of like Arsenal versus Liverpool last year, where Arsenal's going to look up and it's like, Saliba versus on a 3v1 against those guys. And it's like, oh Jesus, man! I hope someone screws up here. And even if they don't win those games, it's still going to be not an easy result. Or maybe they will nick a point or 3 off of some of those teams, and those are the ones that end up being title deciders. It's not like oh well, we beat this team 2-0 and you beat that team 4-0. No, it's like, did you drop weird points against a team you probably should have beat because they just had things that you weren't ready for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely.
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly touch on Everton. Kind of teased it a little bit a couple times, but they were up 2-0 at the interval at the break and lost 3-2 again.
Yeah, I was going to say
2 weeks
second
in a
straight
row.
game.
Well,
Yeah.
2 games in a row because of the international break, but 2 games in a row. And it's just like looking really, really, really bleak. And
Yeah.
me and Chad kind of talked about them before the season, and even after week 1, that's when I really planted my flag. I was like, this Everton team is not going to do well. They're not going to be good. And since I dropped that, they now went 4-0 loss to Spurs, and then those 2 choke jobs, or to put it quite frankly,
No, I
2
mean, really.
choke jobs in the past 2 games. And it's like, you got the only thing that really can prop them up is that maybe there's a lot of bad teams in the league this year. Like Leicester's not good, Ipswich is not good, Wolves is not good, Southampton's not good, Palace has looked pretty bad. I think
Palace
they'll get
has
out of
1
it.
point.
I think they have 2 now.
2 points. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
But like I'm looking at the league and it's like below that, like 15th to 20th. It's like I really could see any of those teams going down. Maybe Palace is going to play out of it because they normally do around like second half of the season between like January and March. They normally kick it up a notch. But if you think Leicester could definitely go down, Ipswich could go down, Wolves could go down, Southampton could go down, Everton could go down. Like that's the only thing that could maybe prop them up. But right now it's 4 losses, 4 goals for, and 13 against. And again, I said at the beginning of the season, the way you stay up is by not conceding goals. And they are just conceding. And that's just they don't, because you don't have, when you're at the bottom of the league like that, you just don't have the firepower to even consistently score 2.
I know.
Like
that's a blessing to score 2 in 2 straight games for a team
you
like
can't
them, and you
waste
can't
those.
capitalize on it.
You can't get no points out of the games you're able to score multiple goals if you're a team like an Everton or Southampton
100%.
throwing away pens like they did today. Like that can be the momentum changer. It's like if you're up 1-0 at home against a team that, like we said, isn't like, it's not like they're the best team in the league. It's not like they're in a challenge, so anything could happen from that point. And these are the ways that clubs go down, and I'm very, very worried for Everton. And I think Sean Dyche is not out, but I think definitely if they don't start picking up points, they're going to have to look sooner rather than later and be like, who's on the market right now? Who do we want to give 25 games to, rather than just like do the Sam Allardyce at
10
Leeds and be like, hey,
here's 4 games.
There's 4 games left. Keep us up, please. We need basically at least 6 points out of these 4 games if you want us to stay up. Good luck.
Yeah. No, that was hilarious. Although I'll always maintain in that Leeds season, Javi Gracia was the one that screwed him, not Jesse Marsh.
No, Jesse
when Marsh
Marsh
got
was
dismissed,
fine.
they were 14th.
14th. Yeah.
Yep. And Gracia, I think he took like 2. I mean, anytime you get brought in and fired in the same season, you obviously know that's horrible. Shout out Potter.
Well, that was kind of the season though of.
That was the
I think
season
they were
of that.
better. They were better than they were. Like that was when Brighton was doing really good.
Hell
Brentford
yeah.
was kind of punching above their weight. Who was
I feel like Fulham.
somewhat newly promoted club. That was the year that all 3 promoted clubs stayed up. It was
Yeah.
Fulham, Forest, and someone else I can't remember. Fulham, Forest, and no, not Sheffield. I don't know, but all those clubs stayed up.
I have to look it up.
And
Keep talking.
And then everyone kind of was looking around, and it was like, well, shoot, we used to be a big club 20 years ago, so hopefully we can just capitalize on that. And if Jesse Marsh isn't going to, take us to that top half, then we'll find someone who will. Javi Gracia will. And then they kind of realized that, like, in April, they were like, okay, we might go down. Hey, Sam, can you please help us?
You know what they said, right, in April? Change of plans. Oh, God. Okay, the 3 teams that were promoted that year that stayed up.
Fulham, Forest.
Fulham, Forest.
Hold on. Let me get one last think before I turn it over. And I think it's a team that's still in the league.
Yep.
I keep wanting to say Newcastle, even though I know it wasn't.
Yeah, it was not.
I do not. Bournemouth.
Yep.
Yeah, Bournemouth. Because I keep forgetting that Bournemouth went down and then came straight back.
Yeah, yeah.
I always forget that they went down.
That was like because I looked at the table because I was like, oh, I'll be able to figure out which teams had just come up, and then I was like, shit, wait, and then I was like, well, by process of elimination, it had to be Bournemouth.
Because I think Fulham and Bournemouth both went down and then came right back up the next year.
Fair. That's your 22-23 Premier League review, by the way. That was extra.
It was Leeds went down.
Leeds, Leicester.
Okay, and then Southampton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I know I kind of ruined
by the way,
Leicester
how
one.
James Ward-Prowse was able to move to a club this summer that wasn't Southampton, I don't really know how that happened. I thought when I heard that he was leaving West Ham, I was like, okay, so this screams Southampton on loan. With
you
an option
forget
to buy if they stay up.
You forget Forest and Chelsea are in competition to see who can sign the most guys in a 3-year span.
I mean, Forest that first year they signed like 25
players. Yeah, they literally bought an entire squad in the summer
because they had 4 different center forward. Like they brought in Emmanuel Dennis, Iwanyee, and Chris Wood all in 1 year. And it was just and they were just throwing guys at the wall and just seeing who scored.
I mean, shoot, the keeper thing is worse. They literally bought a keeper every window. They have bought a keeper every window for 4 straight windows.
They had Turner. So they got Sells. They had
Vladichimus.
Yes. Well, that's your boy.
Newcastle legend.
Over at Newcastle, yeah.
And then they bought some Brazilian dude this past window. So, but Forest is a fascinating club. They got a big win today. They got a big result today, though. So give them credit.
I don't know if you know this, by the way. I learned this not this past week, but the week before. But
brace yourselves.
You know that Georgian goalkeeper that Liverpool signed, Marmarashvili, whatever his name is.
Momadashvili, yeah.
He's better than David Raya.
Look, man, people just overrate international tournaments.
Don told me him.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Jan Sommer right now and Lunin are all 3 better than David Raya.
Yeah, that's stupid. I mean, Lunin did just sign a contract extension with us, so of course he's tough. Yeah, he wasn't threatened for the number 2 spot. But no, that's just an insanely... I mean, not even insane. That's just a shit take. It's not even a take. It's just not true. It's just not true.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's because David Raya is in this really, really weird place where everyone's just well, I've never even heard a David Raya opinion. That's why I was so fascinated by it, because I've never heard anyone say he's good. I've never heard anyone say he's shit. I've never heard anyone say anything. People are just I don't know. David Raya stands back there and the defense defends. I don't really know.
I think he's good. I actually I think he's right there on. He's probably the second best distributor with his feet, I would say, in the league at the goalkeeper position behind Ederson, which, when you factor in Ederson's howlers from time to time, which, look, any keeper that's going to distribute the ball is going to have howlers, but it's just how many. So I'd say he's probably second or third, I guess, depending on Onana. I really do like Onana with his feet as well. But then shot stopping, I think he's more consistent than both of those other guys. So, it's where is he? Obviously, I think Alisson is probably the most consistent shot stopper in the league.
To me, Alisson's the best goalkeeper in the world, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's been living off reputation for a little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, I think especially when you factor in, what he's good at is really conducive to a good team. It's what is he really good at? He's really good at 1v1
saves,
and he's really good, and he's a good distributor. He's not a great one. He's not those Ederson guys, but he's a good distributor.
And I think he's a timely distributor. He's a timely distributor.
And he's good in the air.
Yeah.
With crosses. And it's what do you need from a top
which you're going to face. Because, that was the big concern about Raya kind of coming in to this season, because I felt like he didn't deal with crosses that well last year and kind of previously at Brentford, but I think he's stepped up in that department through the first
even a guy
3.
like Courtois, I mean, obviously you can't, I know you're not allowed to say this because they've been successful with him, but it's he's not even really the type of goalkeeper that fits what Real Madrid need him to be. He's an excellent shot stopper. How many times does this dude need to be a good shot stopper?
I tell you, it's weird because
with big teams, they need that a lot more often than people would think. That's why I think Ederson has been so overrated. It's dude, every time City need a save, he just doesn't make it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is you need the keeper. You hit on it perfectly. You don't need to have the most consistent shot stopper, but you need a guy who's going to make the
They'll
big
save.
save when you need it. Yeah, because you might only need one or two of those a game. And then to bring it all the way back, that can decide when you're dropping key points and when you're, getting 3 points.
I mean, shit. That's why That's why Everton's still in the league, because it's like Pickford. He's like the opposite. It's like, hey, Pickford, we need you to make fucking 12 saves in this game, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'm up for it.
Although I have watched him twice this year, and I felt like maybe it's just the situation is so horrible, but I felt like he's taken a step back. Like
Well,
he's
that's what I
looked
mean.
weird
Like,
in a
now
couple
he's
games.
not. Now he's not going Superman mode, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, shoot,
And
now we're
13
million
conceded
goals.
in 4 games. Yeah.
Yeah, which is outrageous. I mean, there's only 2 teams in the league that has not conceded multiple goals right now, and that's Arsenal and Liverpool, and those are 2 of the title challengers. And the other one has scored, I think City's scored already like 13 or 14 goals. And so it's like you either need to score a crap ton of goals or concede.
Well, I mean,
no
shit.
goals.
Holland has 8 and 3, so that's pretty good. That's okay.
4.
Although, well, I mean,
Played
yeah.
the first game. Did he play?
No, he did, but I mean, he didn't score. I'm just saying in the last 3 because he went hat trick, and then brace. But I don't know, dude. He only had like 50 touches total in those 3 games, so he probably played like shit.
He didn't smile, and he didn't do a rainbow flick, so I don't know if I can really rate him as a player.
That's true. So,
If you don't know what we're referring to, I mean, me and Chad just like whatever. We'll get into it another time. We'll
yeah,
get into it.
I feel like we've mentioned it probably once or twice before. So.
Yeah, if you're an avid listener, then you know. So
Exactly.
that will do it for Week 7, Episode 7 of the Glue Guys podcast. Again, please get in the comments, get on our social media or TikTok. I'll see if I can actually put a link to the TikTok in the description of the video, kind of just so I can have that TikTok link in the YouTube and then the YouTube link in my TikTok. Really been enjoying this. I'm really appreciating your guys, reaching out. I get texts, people talk to me in person. Obviously, our TikTok
Nice.
comments. Like, it's been really, really fun and really enjoyable. And even with the limited amount of listeners that we have, it's really been an enjoyable experience for both me and
Yeah.
Chad. And we'll always text each other through the week. adding stuff to our document, being like, "Hey, do you want to cover
100%.
this? Oh no, let's save that for next week." And so it's been a
Yeah.
really, really fun journey for us so far. And hopefully get to
Just getting started.
Yeah,
Just
hopefully-
getting started.
Yeah, just like the Hawk Tua girl. She said she was just getting started. So hopefully we can kind of follow up that same thing. So really appreciate you guys
Second
again.
episode in a row we lost
And
Ethan, guys.
if you have anything,
I gotta tell
you guys
him to
wanna
work on that
let us know
Wi-Fi
about
subscription. He gotta.
comments, questions,
up whatever
anything,
his
please
Wi-Fi
let us
game
know.
is.
And yeah, that'll wrap it up for episode
I gotta
7.
say, Verizon
We'll see you guys
Fios
next week.
they're not always in every area. They're in some areas, not so many in others. Plus 757, spotty Wi-Fi all the way across. So but now I'm sitting here comparing people's Wi-Fi's and all that stuff. So I don't want to be that guy either because I don't feel like that's good content. That's not good content usually. So we lost him officially. I will say though, I guess this is the perfect time to plug this since he's not on it, but I'm going to start posting more stuff on my personal TikTok, kind of sports related. I know I kind of dabble from time to time, but there are all the times where I see like other people making fascinating posts and like sports stuff that I would want to comment on, and I'm like, man, I should start doing something. But now with this, I'm like, might as well, So I'm going to start posting more stuff on my personal TikTok. Not going to be any links or anything fancy like that in there because, we know what you guys are here for. You guys are here for the good stuff. You want to see the full episodes. You want to see the highlights from the episodes. But, if you do, I won't be shy with my personal TikTok, as far as posting a decent amount and, all that stuff. So, yeah, so it's been fun. And I don't even like to say been fun because, this is something that's going to be continuing, something that's going to be ongoing for a good while. And, we're just going to keep having fun with it. So I would like to see more suggested topics if possible. More people suggesting topics because it gets boring just me and Ethan. Not boring, but it's like, me and Ethan, we're creative, but are we are we Bruno Fernandez level of creativity? Maybe not all the time, So we want to have you guys kind of get involved with what are some possible topics for us to discuss. What are some possible things for us maybe that you don't want us to see, or that you might want us to revisit, depending on the episode. So, hey, and we got him back.
All right, so my Wi-Fi has been so bad the past couple of weeks, so hopefully we're at the back end of it, but if not, really appreciate you guys listening, really appreciate you guys reaching out, and hopefully Wi-Fi dependent. We'll see you guys next week for episode 8. All right.
Yeah, but I think it's still recording, though. Oh, okay. I normally get something on the... are you 100% sure? Because it says recording. Alright, well, I'm going to leave it and see what happens. I'm going to leave it and see if that works.